What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Panda here. And today we're going to talk about something that's a little bit mid-game to late game, but is also a very important tip, I think, for early game players. Is something that I'm currently focusing on and something that I've used that's helped me a lot in the progression of my faction wars. As you can see behind me, you'll see that I'm at a little over 445. I'm at 448 stars specifically. You can't quite see it because the stars are behind me on the camera, unfortunately, but there's two main tips that I'm going to recommend for you when focusing on the faction wars, and it's two tips that are going to help you get these early rewards but not completely ruin your path to success when it comes to moving through the game. So the first tip is going to be something very simple, and that is going to be taking your faction wars champions up to a certain level. So you'll see here we have all of these champions up here that are 6-starred and some 5 stars. Most of these champions I've built for various purposes. I'm not building them specifically for faction wars. However, because they're fully built 6-star champions, they do perform relatively well in faction wars. And so the first major thing is going to be to just build your account like normal and use the champions you've built in your faction war progression. However, that's not always going to be the case. And so the second super important tip is going to be to build random characters up to level 40 and put some +8 5-star gear on them. Now again, this is something for more of towards like the end of early game to around the middle game. I would say that this is something you want to start doing at probably, once you've got Spider and Dragon 20 on lock. Maybe this is where you start throwing in some random 5-star gear that's going to make these characters work quite well. In Faction Wars, you'll get tons of stars that way. You won't be able to go crazy. I would say with this point I was able to get most of my faction wars to about the level 6, some of them to the level 7 point, which is that first boss that you get along the way. But that's a lot of points. If you take it and you get 3 stars on each stage, that's 18 points for all of the factions, which will give you quite a bit of rewards. And that's of course not including if you've built other champions to 6-star that have been able to push you further. So that's just something to keep in mind when you are progressing through faction wars. The second thing is to focus on certain types of champions. There are 2 types of champions that I'm going to recommend you keep looking out for each faction. There are more than that, but I think these 2 are the ones that are going to help you the most. There's one that's a general type of champion that we're going to talk about first, and that is going to be a reviver champion. A reviver champion like Scylla the Drakes has a revive that does something. This is very, very important because it'll allow you to guarantee that you get a 3-star on some stages. For example, Scylla the Drakes is only a single target revive, but she does also have a lot of very good things for faction wars. Plus, she's a free champion you're going to get as you progress through the game. I just recently picked her up a couple weeks ago, and so she's made amazing progress for my Barbarians faction war because she has this revive and this amazing heal here, and she also has some really good abilities like this Wingbeat Flurry that stuns and hits an AoE, so it hits lots of stuns. But I think revivers are incredibly important. You'll see here that I focused on several revivers, 2 of which I've actually built up specifically for faction wars, one of which is just kind of a happy accident I built for something else, but it works really well in faction wars as well. So Scylla the Drakes is the one that I built specifically for faction wars. Obviously she is great in various content. She is on my Fire Knight team if you saw the video from Monday, but she's also just a very strong champion for faction wars, and I highly recommend when you're getting her, be prepared to 6-star and just book her out right away. She is such an amazing champion. She's going to get you so much progress in faction wars and help you a lot in other content as well. The second champion I built specifically for Faction Wars, but does have use in other places, such as potentially Arena, is Cardinal. Now, I think Cardinal was a huge choice for me. Of course, this is a Void champion, so it's a little more difficult to get, but she has an AoE revive. She will revive every ally that has died and also heals them for 25% of their max HP and boosts their turn meter to max. This is an almost guarantee that you're going to get a 3-star clear on any Faction Wars stage. And there are various champions like this, including the other champion, which is Ugo, who has the same thing. Now, of course, hers is a little bit different because she does require all of the champions on your team to be dead in order to revive. So it's a little bit different. I actually recently built up this 5-star bellower down here, and that's made it so that it's actually more difficult for her to revive and for me to get those 3 stars. Now, luckily, I'm at a point in the game now where, you know, I've already gotten all of the 3 stars in that specific faction up to the point I can with just this champion, but she's a very good champion. There are several other champions that I highly recommend. We'll go ahead and look at a few of them here. Broadma is actually a fusion champion that you can get, and he's got this really strong 3rd skill that does res. I believe it's 2 champions, which is very good. So he is definitely a champion I would recommend building. I also recently pulled Old Hermit Jorg, or Jorg, however you want to say it, who also has a revive for the orcs, I believe, and he is a great champion as well, just because he has that revive. But there's several other champions that really perform that role. So if you happen to come along a revive champion, definitely keep it. You don't have to build it right away, but keep it, because once you get to the point where you're trying to push Faction Wars, building a reviver is going to be a huge gain in power for you for your Faction Wars teams. The second type of champion that I'm going to recommend you get is actually, let me see if I can find it here, is a turn meter reduction champion. I just had one. Here we go. A turn meter reduction champion. For example, Skimfos the Consumed has an ability on his A3 that says transfers all debuffs from this champion to a target enemy, then attacks the target, and also steals 100% of the target's turn meter if this attack is critical. Now, this is insane, specifically for boss stages. This type of ability is not amazing for normal stages, but when you get to boss stages, you're gonna find that it's gonna be difficult to control the boss without having some kind of turn meter reduction. You can, of course, prevent things with, for example, speed down, which you'll actually see Skimfos has a decreased speed as well on his kit, which is really, really powerful, and also has a 35% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter as well. So he has a lot of turn meter reduction. You also see he has some other abilities here, such as decrease attack. But lo and behold, the important thing, the reason I'm recommending this type of champion, not this champion specifically, is because this skill right here, the ability to steal turn meter, is going to be amazing for your boss stages. You're going to see that these kinds of skills are going to be very, very helpful in progressing through those stages. For example, several of my current Faction Wars teams are stuck on the stage 14 boss. So I'm starting to look towards these types of champions that will allow me to steal turn meter from the boss, or even just reduce turn meter in order to control the boss, giving me more chances to deal more damage, or to take more turns to get my reses back, or to get more heals off, whatever the case is, because I am relying on that first recommendation, which was building several champions, just epics up to level 40 with some basic gear to get that stuff. I have a lot of champions that are relatively weak, so being able to stall the boss is going to help you a lot with being able to get to those key things such as reses or heals. I think that those are probably the two most important types of champions you want to look out for. Of course, you do have several other champions that I highly recommend, such as champions like Grizzlejarl, which is here somewhere. Let me see if I can find him. Here he is, Grizzlejarl. He has a block debuff. Same with Mausoleum Mage. You'll see he also has a block debuff ability. Those are very powerful. Things that have cleanses are very powerful in order to get rid of certain buffs. You'll see, or sorry, debuffs. You'll see on the boss stages, a lot of the boss stages will inflict fear or true fear. So having a block debuff in order to prevent that is very important, because if you have one of those abilities on you and it does trigger, you're going to lose whatever skill you were trying to use. So, for example, on my demon spawn, I will regularly use Kymar in there because I just have him built. And if I have a fear or a true fear on me and that activates, I waste my turn, and my reset ability or my sleep ability will go on cooldown even though I didn't get the chance to use it. So there are very important things to bring in. I think that's really all I wanted to talk about, where, early game, focusing on getting your epics for certain factions up to level 40, maybe awaken them to their 3rd star if they get something really helpful that you think will be beneficial. You'll see a lot of my champions are awakened to their 3rd star because that's when they typically get a special skill, or they get access to a leader ability that will be helpful in the faction war stage. And then I've also taken just kind of mediocre +5 or +8 5-star gear and thrown it on them, because just having that gear, giving them those base stats or that speed, is gonna help tremendously in those early, I would say, first 10 to 15 stages. Is going to be really, really good. Now, once you get past that second boss is where you're really going to start struggling without having higher star level champions and better gear. But doing this early is going to be super helpful. And by the time you get to that stage, more likely than not, you're going to have a lot more 6-star gear that's going to be better. And so you can kind of just throw it on them instead of the 5-star gear once you've built up the better champions to progress through to the stage 21 of Faction Wars, which is a very good thing to focus on. And then also making sure that you keep an eye out for those revivers, for those block debuffs, for any AoE debuff type champions, and specifically those turn meter reduction champions. I think the reviver is probably the most important, followed by a turn meter reduction, and then probably followed by a block debuff. And then you want to get those AoE stuns or defense downs or attack downs or speed downs or whatever the case is. But anyways, guys, I hope that this helps you kind of think about the champions you're pulling as you start your account or as you progress your account, or even if you're a later game account and you're still trying to get those last couple things. Maybe you're stuck on that boss on 14 or on 21 and he keeps taking too many turns and you haven't thought about this. Hopefully that turn meter will help you progress and beat that boss. But guys, that's it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please make sure to like this video if you liked it or it helped you, or if you want to just support the channel, hit that sub button and the notification bell to be notified whenever I post videos. The current plan is to post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, so make sure to come check out there. You can see links in the bio down below to my sponsor, Dubby Energy Drinks, which is actually really good, by the way. And also, you'll have links to all of my important information, such as my Patreon, my Twitch, my Discord, and an email. If you guys want to contact me with any cool stuff, you can send it to that email. But anyways, guys, that's it for me today. Love you so much. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.